Okay, welcome back. This is the third video in the second lesson on the terrain editor. And in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to get some more practice with the terrain editor by building a maze of brick walls here on this region of terrain that we've made. Okay, so again, we're going to use the Add tool inside of the Edit menu of the terrain editor. And again, the settings for this, we're going to use a cube, but now let's see what a good size would be. And the size of your wall will actually depend on how big you made your terrain. But let's see what a 4 looks like. Oh, here's one thing to notice. Sometimes when you come back from testing your game, the tool will be gone. It won't show up. No brush. The way that you make it show up again is by pressing the tool off and then on again, and there it is. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. I'm gonna make my wall a bit smaller, so let me try okay, and this time what I want to do is I actually want the base size and the height not to be the same. So what you do is you click on this little lock icon, and then that allows you to change them to whatever you want. So 4 for the base size, that's too big. Let's try a 2. Oh, I forgot to hit enter. 2, yeah, you know what? A 2 looks good. And I think on the height, let's try a 10. And you really, you can make these as high as you want. That's actually really high. Let's try an 8. Yeah, that looks good. I think an 8 is a good size. Okay, and then let's see. What we want to do is we definitely want snap to voxels. I mean, it helps make it. It helps make the wall a little straighter. You can kind of see how it's snapping to this grid. If I turn it off, it just goes smoothly. So definitely use snap to voxels. That will help you build a straighter wall. Let's see, ignore water. We don't have any water here. Ignore parts. We don't have any parts. And again, we're going to use brick. You could use other materials. I just like brick because it looks like a wall. But you could use any material actually to do this. You could even, I guess you could make them out of water, but you could pass right through them, so that wouldn't be very challenging. Okay, so now you can see that my plane right now is diagonal, and we want it to be vertical. So again, you want to move the angle. There it goes. You just want to move the angle of your camera to where you're more of sideways like this, and that'll make it nice and vertical. And you can just play with it. And then you also want to rotate your view. See, now it's kind of at a diagonal to my terrain, and I want to keep turning it. And there it goes. Now it is up and down, and it is going across my terrain. So that's going to be a good plane. What I am going to do on this one though is I'm going to use a different view, because it's actually a lot easier to build the walls if you're looking from like a top-down view. So we're going to do that, and it still works. So let's just make sure the settings are what we want. So we've got base size of 2, a height of 8, pivot position bottom so that it starts on top of the ground. And that looks good. Now, here's where I was telling you that we're going to switch the view. We're actually going to move to a top view using the view selector. You could do it manually, but I just like using this top button. And now when you're in this top down view, you can use Q and E to move up and down. There it goes. And you can zoom out, using your scroll wheel or WS. And I want to, let me see, I kind of want to see the whole thing. Let me zoom out a little more. This is going to be pretty hard because this is big. I'll have to make my walls in pieces, and you might be using the undo button quite a bit. Okay, so now I'm doing a top-down view, and you can see this is how my walls are going to be laid out. And let's see, anything else? I can kind of see everything. One thing that does help is if you like, say I'm building a wall in this region, wherever you are centered, that's usually the easiest place. Because if I'm trying to build a wall over here, you know, it's easier if I center the camera on where it is that I'm going to build. Yeah, see, because this way I can tell, am I over the edge? Am I right on it? And so just, you know, use your camera, and you'll get better at this. Honestly, I'm still not an expert on building walls using the terrain editor, but just play around with your camera views, and you know, play with the settings, and just have fun with this. Okay, so let's go ahead and build a small maze, and again, mine isn't going to be very challenging. So I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to build this one wall section at a time, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Let me see, that would be good. You know, right there's good. Okay, so very slowly I'm going to build a wall, holding the left mouse button and moving down, and you're trying to kind of stay inside of this little grid, and keep going. And I like making these one section at a time because it's just easier. Okay, that's one section done. Okay, now I'm going to move my camera. I'm going to build another section. And again, take your time with this. There is no rush. Okay, that looks pretty good. Maybe even a little closer. Okay, starting right there, and I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. Or maybe you know what? Maybe I'll make this in 3 sections. Okay, so here we go. Again, slowly. That looks good. Actually, one more. Oh, I messed up. Okay, so here's the first time I get to use my my undo button. So just press undo and do it again. No worries. Okay, here we go. And again. Go as slow as you need to. It actually helps to be kind of zoomed in on this, but I'll just do this. Okay, there we go. Got that one. Okay, now let's do another one. And I'll just finish this off right here. And again, this plane and the snap to voxels setting make this a lot easier to make straight walls. I'm just going to finish this off. Okay, and let's see what this first one looks like. So let's go ahead and play. And you know what? Let me see if it can let me. Let me see if it'll let me. There's another option here. If you click on this triangle section of the play button, you can actually say play here, and that will start you. It should start you in other places. Let's see if this works. So if I do play here, let's see if it starts me somewhere else. Oh, it did. It did. Okay. So it kind of, oh, and look, my walls are actually, they're actually off the ground, which isn't a bad thing. Let me show you how to fix that though. That actually, you know what? It doesn't look bad. They kind of are hanging in the sky. I don't think you can climb under them anyway. You know, that isn't bad. But let me show you how to make them go through the ground. So these first few are good. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and stop. And yeah, that play here is actually pretty useful because, you know, instead of having to start at the spawn location every time, you know, to test out different sections of your game, just, you know, kind of zoom in on the area that you want to start in and press play here. Save you a little bit of time. Okay, so these walls, they kind of hover over the air, right? And let me show you what I'm going to do. So the reason it does that is because we chose the bottom pivot position, and they're just not going all the way. But, you know, it doesn't look bad. I think it's actually looks kind of nice with them hanging in the air like that. But if you wanted them to go all the way through the ground, it's actually easy to do that. We just choose center pivot position, and now this wall is going to be halfway in, halfway out of the wall. But you're going to have to make it bigger. So here I would make it, I don't know, maybe a 14. And now half of it will be under the ground and half of it will be above the ground. And that will work. And so do the same thing as we did before, and I'll show you what this looks like. So again, I'm going to switch to a top view, and I'm going to use Q and E to move up and down. And then I'm going to use A and D to move side to side. And so I'm going to put this kind of close here. Okay, so let's build a wall. Let's build another section of walls, and then I'll show you what this looks like inside the game. So you can see the difference between a pivot position of centered and a pivot position of bottom, at least when building these walls. Okay, let me actually go a little bit further this way. Okay, so I'm gonna start, oh yeah, that looks good. Oh, and you can tell, see how it's hanging off of the edge a little bit? That's actually what you want. So right here, yeah, this will work. So let me start building a wall here. Slowly. There's one. Okay, I'm gonna move my camera so I can just get a better look. And then I'll build another section right here. And again, if you mess up, just use the undo button. And that's good. Okay, let me move my camera again. I'm going to put another section over here. And you can already see that they are going all the way through the ground because you can see little wall spots around the wall themselves. Okay, and now I'm going to put the last wall right here. Okay, so last wall section for this one. Going down slowly. And again, almost done. You can kind of tell. I use the grid instead of what it looks like to build this. And that looks good. Okay, so now let's test this. I'm going to do the play here again. And it should drop me, hopefully. Whoa, wait. Oh, it didn't work. You know what happened? It probably dropped me. Let me try that again. I think it just depends on where you're zoomed in. So let me zoom in more towards the middle. I think it dropped me kind of on the edge, and I had to start over. So let me start here and play here again. This is what I would notice earlier. That yeah, see, it's dropping me off of the terrain, and so I'm dying. Let me try it one more time. I think if I zoom in a little bit, it'll actually drop me where I want to. Let's see. No, it's not going to work. Yeah. So I don't know. I think you have to, I'm not really sure actually on the camera angle or camera position where it is I'm supposed to be in order for this play here to drop me in the correct spot. But let me show you what these walls look like when you do pivot position center. Yeah, see now this is kind of what I wanted. I wanted these walls to be in the ground. And they look good. And this one, let me see if it goes all the way to the edge. Yes, it does go all the way to the edge. And then the other one, let's see if that one goes all the way to the edge. Yeah, I just really love the way these walls look. And this one, oh yeah, it did go all the way to the edge. Okay, fantastic. So let's just do one more section. Again, this isn't supposed to be a really challenging maze. Okay, so let's do one more section of this and then we will be done. And I do not know why it does not want to let me play here. Let me see if I look at it sideways. Maybe top down isn't a good place. Let's try play here. Hey, it worked that time. Okay, so again, it depends on where your camera is looking for play here. And that actually did work. So I don't know, zoom in, try a different angle, and maybe you'll get different results. Okay, so last one, we're going to build one more section of wall. And let me, again, do the top-down view. Zoom out. This is actually, and the closer you are, the easier it is to build these walls accurately. But the thing is, the closer you are, the less of the terrain region you see. So this is probably a pretty good view. Oh, and again, my tool isn't working. See, no brush. So just turn it off. And then turn it back on. And there we go. Okay, so last section. Last section here. This is good right here. Yeah. Okay, let me build one more section of wall. All the settings are the same. For my super easy maze. That's good. Okay, let me move my camera. And build another section right here. Slowly. And again, don't use the wall itself to see where you're going. Use the grid. And I wish it would kind of show a transparent version of this, but yeah, so you can see I kind of needed to move the camera in order to finish this, but that's okay. Let me just build one little section here. That should be good. Okay, now it's hanging off a little bit. Let me see. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, and if it hangs off a bit, that's actually not a bad thing. People will cheat by going or jumping around these obstacles. So if it hangs over a little bit, that makes it a little harder for them. Okay, so let me try this play here again and see if it does work. So I'm just gonna move my camera view to where it's like this. Let me move my camera down. I think if I just zoom in on the area that I want to start at, it'll start me there. So let's try it. Play here. It works. Okay, yeah. So just zoom in on the area. Maybe look at it as in a diagonal way or at a diagonal angle. And let's check out this last section. Yes, it looks good. Yeah, and it's all the way to the edge, so you can't cheat. Very good. And these look great. I just love the way these walls look. Let me just check the last section. Fantastic. That's exactly what I want. And let me zoom out so you can kind of see what these look like. Yeah, so you see these walls, they're halfway in the ground and they're halfway out of the ground. And that's usually the way that I will build these mazes. Again, you can use the pivot position bottom and then the wall will kind of be suspended in the air. You know, if you like the way that looks better, that's fine as well. But yeah, this is how you would make a maze of walls. Oh, you know one thing? Let me show you. So you can cheat, right? If you zoom out, you can see exactly where this maze is or where the exit to this maze is. And maybe you want it like that. Maybe you want your players to be able to easily get through the maze. But what you could do is just put a brick ceiling on this, right? So you could use the add tool to build a ceiling over these walls, and then they would not be able to see an easy way to get out. You could also, another way you can do it is you can actually control how much your players can zoom out. So if you made it to where they could not zoom out more than say this much, that would be another way to take care of that. So either way, and showing you how to control the zoom out, that's actually really easy. Let me stop this, then I'll show you. It's actually a really good setting. I think that's under game settings. Let's just check and see if, I guess I have to save it before I do that. You know what? I'll show you that in another video where we change some of these game settings and prevent the players from zooming out too much. Okay, so that's another way. But again, you could just create a ceiling on top of here. And let me kind of show you how you would do that. So let me go to the top of this. And if I was going to create a ceiling, this would probably be pretty challenging because you want a horizontal plane. So let me zoom out and let me show you how you would add a ceiling to this. Okay, so I would want this to be like a you know what? An easy way would be to make this big. So make it like a 14:2. Let's see what that would look like. Then you'd have these plates. Yeah. See, now you have these plates and you can just put them on top. And again, you would want a horizontal plane, but that would work perfectly. Okay, so here you have to let me show you. So this plane, it will fall to the height of whatever your cursor is on. So you see here, it falls to the height of the ground because my cursor is above the ground. But if I go to these, if I have my cursor above a wall section, now the plane is at that height. So this is really easy how I would make this. So let me zoom out and I can show you. So you would basically start here and let me put a ceiling on this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I changed my base size to 14:2, my base size to 14 and my height to 2. And now I'm just going to start on top of one of these wall sections and I'm going to put a ceiling on this. And you know what? Let me move my camera a little bit more so that I can cover the whole thing. That will let me cover the whole thing. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put a ceiling on this. And you go across. And again, this is not going to be perfect. I'm going to make this kind of quickly, just to give you an idea of how easy it is to put a ceiling on this. Oh, you know, the only thing is it's probably going to be pretty dark in there, but let's actually try this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in on this area. Yeah, see. Oh, you can still see inside. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play here. And now it is impossible to tell where the exit is. And actually, in a few lessons, we're gonna learn how to make lights. So, oh, but you know what works really well? So these walls that are suspended in the air, they actually let a little bit of light in. So if you made your entire maze with those walls, you wouldn't have to worry about putting lights in here. This is actually good because now you can't tell, you can't cheat basically on the maze. And yeah, it looks great. Look, we got a little ceiling for our walls. So this is another, another thing you could do with this is you could create really, you could create buildings very quickly with this. Okay, and again, I'll show you, I think it's in lessons 8 and 9 are actually going to show you how to do the effects, and part of those will be the lights. There are several lights that come built in with Roblox, and you could place these inside of these sections of your maze, and then you would have no trouble seeing inside of there. Okay, fantastic. So let me go ahead and stop here. Okay, so this is how I would make a maze, and again, we put a little roof on our maze to prevent cheating. And we learned a couple of different ways to put these walls down, both with the pivot position at the bottom or the pivot position centered. And again, we got more practice using the plane, depending on the camera view that we use. And that's great. And so the next part, what we're going to do is use the add tool to build some arches and get some practice with that, and then probably dig a few caves over here. And that will, oh, and then I will also show you some settings that we can change as far as the materials. And we'll do that in the next videos. So I will see you then.